I recently went through and completed Jordan Peterson's personality assessment test, the Understand Myself program. I have another video here on the channel where a friend and I break down and read through all of these pages talking about the revelations that test shows about me and about how I work and operate in the world. But I thought I'd do one short video reviewing and talking about my experience with the test, what I would advise if someone was going to approach it themselves, and what I have found that I could take away from it. Along with that, I'm planning on doing all of the other, educational programs that are available, from the in-depth lesson series, the college class on the Big 5 personality traits, learning more about how these operate in my life and how I might take more control of them and change them as time goes on, all the way to the self-authoring program for past, present, and future. If you're interested in that type of content, or you want to see and hear someone reflect on their journey through these courses, hit that subscribe button down below and leave a comment letting me know what you'd be curious to learn about each one of them. Whether you're someone who's journeying through them yourself, or you're like me and trying to make a good determination as to whether or not you should spend your hard-earned money on any of these programs. I'll be updating you and talking about my experience of them throughout the course and the life of this channel. But the Understand Myself personality test. Now, the basic premise of this is fairly simple. Jordan Peterson and a variety of other professors and educators developed a system to allow you to categorize yourself into into a variety of different Big 5 personality traits. We have agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, openness, and neuroticism. Now, each one of these traits is also broken down into 2 different categories that they then go through and analyze as well. You'll be ranked in a big collection of different people who've taken the same test as you, and that'll conclude where you fall in a range from 1 to 100, meaning that if there was 100 average people, both men and women, young and old, in a room, where do you fall in that range? For instance, myself, I am very, very low on conscientiousness and very, very high on openness. Conscientiousness is the thing that makes you worried about schedules and timelines, about calling your grandparents when you need to, or being late to show up to a party. I am not very good at this. And that aligns with the experience that I've had throughout my life. In a room of 100 people, because I ranked 5 on the conscientious scale, that means that there are only going to be 4 people that are less conscientious than me, and there's going to be 94 people that are more conscientious than me. But on openness, I'm 91, meaning that there are only going to be 8 people that are more creative, more open, more willing to explore the world through theological and philosophical thought, through abstract experience, and the vast majority of people in that room would be less open than me, meaning they're not quite as floaty in their mind, they're not quite as creative in their thinking, they're not quite as open, creative, would be the terminology. I found this test to actually be very insightful and very eye-opening. There's 2 ways you could approach the test. You could do it as a single person where you take the test yourself, or you could purchase it with a spouse or a partner to find out a little bit more information about how you and your wife, your relationship, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, how they match up with your personality and how you match up with theirs. I did both of these tests. My wife took it herself, and I read through and reconciled the way that we might and might not operate well together, and I took it individually as a person to look back on my own experience and try to understand where I can work on myself and where I can grow as an individual. The whole concept of this channel here at Someone Doing Something is that growth is important and purposeful growth is necessary, and we are trying to build a community where we work together, where we are working on our own mental health, our personal development, and our spiritual connection. So, I found this to be really insightful. I not only was able to discover certain aspects of my trait and my personality that I'd never seen fully articulated before, but I also now have a better sense of where I should direct my own work, where I should start developing and being, conscious of. Like I said, I'm very low in conscientiousness, which is one of those traits that dictates being a good employee, or being a hard worker, or being a successful individual. And I think I have survived up to this point by maximizing the degree to which I can monetize my openness and my creativity, and been very poor and good at avoiding the responsibility of conscientiousness, of keeping a schedule and a routine. But one of the things I want to work on, especially as I become a husband and one day, God willing, a father and a parent, is being a little bit more purposeful about being conscientious of the people around me, being sensitive to their emotional needs, being empathetic to the time constraints that exist. And I have absolutely had moments in my life where I have butted heads with people because they've been more conscientious than me. I've been late, or not as organized, or not as scheduled, and that's caused people to feel like I was neglectful or didn't care about the relationship that we had. Now, taking this test does not mean that I am locked into whatever it says about me, but instead it's given me insight into who I am, who I've been, and who I might be able to become. Now, the test does warn you about being in a good headspace before you take it, and I think that's very important. Try to center yourself. Try to be as honest about the answers as you can be. Don't try to be overly self-critical on the test or overly passive about your own flaws and weaknesses. The more accurate you are in terms of your answers to the test, the more reflective and honest and self-exploratory you are, the more accurate the test will be about being a guidepost and a designated source for how to orient your life. You're not going to get much out of it if you find that you're being more self-critical or more passive, because the test won't accurately reflect who you are and what you should work on. I have found that throughout the test there are things that I differ with. For instance, there's some things that relate to the different traits and the different habits, like conscientiousness comes with the idea that you're not very self-motivated, you're not very determined to work hard and to pursue, a life full of pleasure is more attractive to you than a life full of hard work, and that you believe that it's just luck and chance that gets people to a point of success rather than putting on your bootstraps and pressing forward. That's one of those areas where I don't really agree with. I haven't found that I matched up as well with some of these traits. Now, that doesn't mean that those traits are wrong. Instead, they're characteristic of a wider population, which I am part of. But the unique combination that I have between all of these means that my worldview and my experiences have shaped how I approach those habits. I do believe in hard work. I do believe in struggle and challenge. I don't think that it's all luck that gets you to where you're going to be. Instead, I think it's purposeful action and purposeful choice. But paired with that, I'm also not always the best at purposeful action or purposeful choice. I do think that life will kind of work out in some ways as long as you do your own effort and you put in your own hard work in any aspect or any form of life. Like, God will guide and direct and lead you where you need to go. So there's a unique combination of how I view the world and what the test says about how I should view the world. Along with that, it does oftentimes highlight the difference between gender and political ideology, something that I find very interesting, but I also haven't overly related with. This test doesn't give a great reference point for where you could expect me to be when it comes to general political affiliation or my view of the world. Based off this test, I should be I should be more on the side of the liberal American ideology. And yet I find that I fall much more in the middle, more nuanced about all these issues and not swinging from one side to the other. Except in some circumstances, and then I'm well over on one side or the other. There's complex issues and complex frameworks that go into how we identify and how we orient our own life, and this won't give you all of those answers. If you're interested in taking the test, here's what I would recommend. Do so, but do so with the warning that this isn't a scripture for who you are. Instead, it's an interesting anecdote. It's a guidepost. It might give you some insights into, what life has been like and will be like if you don't take conscious effort and make choices about how you want to work and develop yourself as you go. But my philosophy is that life requires purposeful effort, that you're never really standing still, that you're either sliding backwards or moving forward. And so something like this is a picture of where you are when you're standing still, in a single moment. already I am different from this test, partially because of it and partially because I'm working on myself and I'm developing myself. I hope that I'm able to, open up my exploratory and my creative abilities. I hope I'm able to rein in my lack of schedule and organization. I'm able to push down a bit of the neuroticism that exists and work on developing and moderating myself as I grow. It seems like being somewhere a little bit more towards the middle of all of these categories might be the best approach for a healthy life, whereas the extreme peaks and pinnacles lead to either extreme pleasure and satisfaction or despair, doom, and destruction. So if you're thinking about taking this test, do so, but do so fully with the knowledge that it provides one single snapshot. Now, let me know what you'd like to hear me talk about next, whether it's the course that he has on the 5 big personality traits, whether it's the self-authoring program, some of Jordan Peterson's books, or the other content that's available from the Exodus series to his speeches on marriage and personal health. I'd love to hear your ideas, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to bring that content here to the channel as soon as possible. And if you've made it to this point and you're interested in hearing more about my own personal Understand Myself test, please follow the link popping up somewhere around here, probably this bottom corner at the moment, that will show you and break down this entire article of research and apply it to my life. You'll be able to see where it matched up for me, where it didn't match up for me, and where I think I need to do a lot of focused effort and energy to work on, develop, and grow myself as an individual. Whatever the case, though, whatever you do, remember, if you're someone, you're worth doing something for. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and we'll see you tomorrow.